You came to the right place. So right here, look at these huge leaves on this. Can you all see that? And if those of you in the front might even want to squat down if other people need to see. So this is a burdock.
Oh, wow.
All right. And dock probably is an old English word meaning probably broadleaf plant. So you have burdock and they have broadleaf dock and curly dock and what's up dock and and this one has lots of burrs in it. And what had happened is he'd gotten a bunch of these burrs in his socks, and they absolutely have the little hooks, and he realized there was something to be done for that, and that's how Velcro got invented. They're a classic biennial, and we'll be talking about biennials. We'll be looking at some carrots and things like that, and let's just kind of have a little. How about hand me one of those wild carrots there? Maybe the one in flower there. Yeah, and we'll be talking about them later. So there it is. So most of us know this plant is Queen Anne's lace. They say Queen Anne, she was making that lace. Sometimes you look in the center and there'll be a little red one in the middle. That's where Queen Anne had a little drop of blood. And you think, now hold it. And you look at the scientific name of this, it's Daucus carota. Same scientific name as carrots, your garden carrots. Think, now hold it. I've planted carrots for years in my garden and I've never seen any of those flowers. What's the deal? All right, well, carrot is a classic biennial, right? So what that means is a plant that can't get it together the first year. It takes 2 years to get it together. And so you take your carrot seeds and you plant it in your garden, and sure enough, up comes those little carrot tops, and then you look and you see that little top getting bigger. In the fall of the year, you pull up your carrot, take them in, and eat them. Where are you going to get your seeds for next year? You think about that. Look at this thing. Here's this plant. How do you pick a thistle? Very carefully, right? Right. It's got those thistles. And you think about it. A lot of times, thorns are there for a reason. They're there sometimes to protect something good in the plant. A lot of times it's chemicals in the plant. But thistle's the same kind of thing. It produces a rosette that lasts the first year. Second year, it puts that shoot up, and you can dig thistle roots in the fall or the early spring. If you miss it, you can get the shoot as it comes up, sort of peel it back, and it's tender and juicy. I've even seen people serving them at wild food feasts with a little cream cheese in the top of it, like you would celery, and peanut butter, and so anyhow, it's the same basic principle. It's interesting. Thorns protecting these things. Most cactuses are edible. There's 1 or 2 species of cactus that don't have thorns. Peyote happens to be one of them. It's got potent chemicals in it to keep things from eating it, or it became its demise. But anyhow, but how do we tell it's not poison hemlock? Look at this. I just happen to have a poison hemlock on hand here. This is the one we found around here, and now this is of course late summer grown, but here's a poison hemlock. I mean, that kind of looks like parsley or carrots or something like that, doesn't it? So this is serious stuff. If you're going to talk about eating this kind of family, you got to know what you're doing. And so what is that sour? So that sour, this plant named oxalis was the first, when they started to look at the constituents in it, and they found an acid in it. Since they found it in the oxalis plant, they called it oxalic acid. And so that's the same acid that's in rhubarb that gives rhubarb its tang. Same thing that's in some of the sorrels, the French sorrel. And they say that if you get too much oxalic acid, it can work with calcium balance in your body. So it's often suggested to eat it in moderation. And I would set up along with all the craft booths with traditional crafts, I would set up a booth of herbs, teas, and old-time remedies. And what was so nice, in so many ways, I call that my classical education, because here was all these people that were brought there for their embodiment of tradition. There were, old banjo players, there were ballad singers, there were people from different parts of the world. They would come in and they would do different kinds of music. And of course, anyone who has a broad contact with the natural, with their traditional roots has a deep contact with tradition and with herbs and things like that. So by the time I was through with all my little display of herbs and teas and all like that, by the time the festival was over, anyone who had anything to say about herbs, I heard from them. Wow. common sleight of hand trick called the hydrostatic glass. But what a way to use it to get an extra level of commitment. And he said, all right, now I think I know what, I think we're ready to go here. And so then he took a piece of Kleenex, tore it up, wrapped it up in there, and around their root bags. And I want you to hold this, and I want you to realize that you have a lot of power in yourself. You have a lot of power that no one else can take from you. And in this root bag is a combination of your power and my power and all the other astral powers out there. And when you have this in your hand, and you have this root bag, if anyone tries to take away your personal power in yourself, it'll go right back to them, and they won't be unable to touch you. And then he collected back the little tissue paper, and he collected the little bag. He took the tissue paper off each of their little bags. He took a little ashtray, twisted them all up, put them in the ashtray. He touched a match to it, and it went. And he says, all right. And then he took that, and he held those root bags in that stream of smoke. And he says, now I want to imbue these with the power of the serpent god of India, the ancient Aztec god, the power of Dr. Buzzard's staff, and the powerful mandrake root, and the serpent god, the grass god from Zaire, Africa. And he went through each of the things and took them all over there, gave that back to them, gave them back their packets, and then escorted them out of his office.